All right. Let's see. Looks like you guys can see me. Looks like you guys can hear me. Let me put up my... That's interesting. I guess we'll remove one of them. All right. Guess we'll remove all of them. Interesting little behavior there. All right. So what are we working on? I'll be on camera here in a little bit, but for right now, we're just kind of hanging out and talking shop. Yeah, never fear the boss here. Hi, Scott and Ranger. Let's go check on Ranger. How's Ranger doing? And Amin over on the YouTube side, how's it going? Let's see how Ranger's doing. Let's pull up Ranger Cam. I was using this earlier to show somebody around our home lab environment. Let's check on Ranger Cam. How's Ranger doing? Ranger's not on his bed. I don't know where he is, but he's not on his bed right now, guys. Also, there's some other stuff going on in the home lab. We can muck around with that if we want. What do we got here? We have some service stuff that we were talking about. We were building out some services and looking at those. These notes are all up in the Discord if you need them. Mostly what we had been doing was... where were we at? We had been doing this, which was going through the different Killer Coda labs, and we were building them out and kind of adding for ourselves our own little notes about the environment. This is all up in the Discord as well, so if anybody needs to catch up for this week, you can go down into the notes section or so, and then that's where, like, you know, I've put all the notes up for all the stuff we're doing. A GoPro on Ranger. Yeah, I wonder where he is, because if I don't see him, he is probably over in... Like, if I don't see Ranger, and it's kind of getting warm outside, he's probably laying on this rug right over here. Because this little rug down here in the corner, he really likes it. He can lay on it, and it's kind of cool, and it's right against the tile. And he puts his nose on the tile all the time, like, even when he's laying on his side, so that he can, like... I don't know, feel how cool the tile is or something. Probably the equivalent of how we flip our pillows over to get the cool side of the pillow, you know? So, yeah, Ranger's pretty good dog all in all. I was very disappointed about the size of this bed, in that it completely sits on top of the other bed, and it's not very... It was a pretty terrible buy all around, but oh well. All right, so what are we doing today? We can keep setting up the lab. You can get in the lab from the Discord. If you go in and look around, you can find how to get into the lab. We have devices in the lab. So what I might start setting up today is we had talked about doing this hammer block stuff over here. And the hammer block is this idea that you can... it's going to be just like a cyber range that you can go kind of mess around and do whatever you want in. The main caveat, though, is there's no real reason to attack the system you're on since you're given... you're given root to it. What you should be doing is trying to work on getting into other devices and then documenting it, because that's a big part of it. Hi, Professor. Can you hand over the junior engineer the Wazoo documentation at the stage of documentation it's at now? Yeah, the Wazoo stuff. I think I have that. Let me see. Let me see if I have that. This was all the documentation I had from the project that we had done the other night, you mean? And if that's what you're talking about, this is all up in the Discord. Meeting notes, and then you go up just a little bit, and it's all right here. So you go to the meeting notes section, and you just scroll up about a page, right, maybe 2 pages, and you'll get to, there's all the Wazoo documentation. Right there. No. Right there. Vivana over on Twitch, how's it going? We're just hanging out. We're not working too super hard right now. Also, I wanted to let you guys know we got a few events going on this weekend. We've got the writer's room starting on 12 o'clock tomorrow. And then the Linux sysadmin course is starting up in March 22nd. Boris, you're saying, got any good Twitch channel recommend? I don't know. What do you... I don't know what you're asking. Like other Twitch channels? I mean, I don't know of anybody that's really trying to teach people Linux except for like RWX Rob. I mean, there's a lot of good stuff on Twitch. I have plenty of things I enjoy going and watching on Twitch, but like, I don't think anybody's trying to teach you anything. I guess most people are just kind of being infotainment type stuff. So, yeah, Boris, I don't have any good, like, the other Twitch channels that I would hang out in are like Midnight Simon, or like Midnight Simon has a pretty good channel. No Linux, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't, but I don't. Like, I mean, I guess it depends what you like, Boris. Like, I like watching people get hung up on meat hooks in Dead by Daylight. So I like watching Dead by Daylight. I don't know why I like that game. I've never played a single minute of it. In the background, it can just be sitting there, people getting hung up on meat hooks, and it's hilarious to me. And I don't know, again, why I like it so much, but I like hanging out on Twitch and watching that. So, other tech stuff, I don't really watch tech stuff on Twitch. But I do hang out in Sid Heresy's channel and stuff like that. Amin Galib said, "Hi, please, any resource about kernel personalization in enterprise environment?" Here's the problem with kernel personalization in enterprise environment. Let me show you kind of the extent of what you're going to do. This is going to be bright for a second, guys. I apologize. It's going to get bright for a second while I show you guys something here. Let me pull this up. Just 1 second here. It's going to be bright for a second, guys. The question was around kernel personalization in the environment. Right, there's Ranger. I see Ranger. Let me move this over here. It's going to be bright, but we'll have to deal with it. There's Ranger. We can see his head. Let's go right here to Red Hat Enterprise Linux real quick, and then let's come down here to sysctl. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to type in sysctl real quick. And what I wanted to show you is these are the STIGs around securing the kernel. So these are some of the STIGs around the things that you would change. And what I would tell you is this. I mean, the ways that we could personalize a kernel that go deeper than this stuff immediately void any warranty that you would have. And so what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is if I'm going to run Red Hat, if I'm going to run Rocky Linux and have CIQ as somebody on the back end, if I'm going to use their kernel that they've compiled and are supporting, then I'm going to have support and everything's going to be good. If I do any recompiling of that kernel in any way, it's great to do in a lab. It's fun. You can do all kinds of stuff. It's the same thing with like your own car. You take your car, you can do whatever you want to it. However, the dealership is not going to be responsible for the fact that you put a different air intake on that car and you switched out the exhaust. They're not gonna care about that, if that makes sense, right? Well, it's the same kind of idea with the kernel. So your personalization for the kernel inside of the enterprise is always going to err on the side of stability. I hope that kind of makes sense. You are not going to be recompiling the kernel like for yourself. So that being said, how can we interact with the kernel? We can affect the way that things interact with the kernel in a lot of ways, and it's all through these sysctl states. So we can come here, watch. So these are the things that I can. Oh, whoops, there's Ranger. These are the things that I can mostly configure with very little to no problems. Let's leave Ranger up. It's kind of fun to have him up in the system. So I'm going to do sysctl -a and then like word count -l real quick and say there's 1,028 things that I can configure in this system without even really mucking deep in the kernel. And these are the types of things that I can do. I can interact with any of these, and I can change these values, right? Most of us come down here, and we go down into some of the kernel stuff right? And we can change the behaviors of the kernel in such a way to be more secure, or the way that the kernel handles panicking and where it writes things out, all the way down to typically we get down into the net IPv4 stuff. And stuff like this is, do we have an ARP filter on? Do we accept all local, or do we block local? Do we actually allow redirects from the system or no? There's little things called Martians. You can go look up what Martians are. Also, I think the wife's downstairs somewhere. I think I just heard her come home. But let's hold on. Let's pull this up real quick. There's all these different things that you can change about how your system interacts with TCP. The best effort tuning has happened on your system. TCP tends to be tuned for the most, let's say, like the most blasé, the most average stuff that can happen. But if you wanted to know like what type of security, because there are a lot of settings here. You don't have to memorize all these. But there are settings that are going to change the way your system listens and how it... Is your system ever going to respond to ICMP echo? Ever? Is it ever going to do it? And if you say right here, if you change that to 1, your system will say nothing back to ICMP echo ever again. Meaning, if I were to ping a box to make sure it was up, that is no longer an effective check. So you guys might say, Scott, is it possible to turn off your enterprise Linux boxes from responding to ping? I'd say, hell yeah. Absolutely, it's right there. ICMP, Internet Control Message Protocol, echo ignore all. 1, change that to 1. That's the value right there. So if you want to say, well, Scott, I don't obviously have time to study all 1048 of these, right? Or 1028. Which ones are important? And I would tell you this. This is what's going to be bright for a second, and I apologize, guys. But we can come down here and we can see kernel demessage restrict has to be set to 1. Now, what does that do, right? Hey, come on in, wifey. There's no, I don't have the camera on.
I didn't see the green screens.
No, I didn't have it up.
Sorry, they didn't have any cheese.
You brought me food?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Oh, they didn't have any cheese for the pretzels?
Yeah.
Oh, man,
Want me
that's...
to get mustard?
Nah, that's fine. Are you taking off?
I'm going to do a couple things and then go. Do you want me to sample that?
Yeah, try it. See if it's any good. Guys, the wife brought me food, and we're sampling it right now. I haven't ever had this little type of sandwich from QT. Yeah, the Miss Scott is here. And one of the things is normally, guys, some of you guys know, we always do... Is it really good? We always do date night on Friday nights, right? But tonight, we're not hanging out together because the wife's going to do something. But all day tomorrow, we're hanging out with some friends. We're going out to the Renaissance Festival. Is it good?
It's okay.
Oh.
I've got a Galentine's party to go to. I think
The wife's going to a party, guys. That's what's happening.
I think I would do a regular grilled cheese with pepperoni, salami, and mozzarella. It seems a little dry.
You tell them next time.
I will.
You make it better for yourself and for me.
Okay.
Okay. The wifey is leaving, guys.
Bye.
All right.
You kids have fun.
Oh, they will have fun. Or I have specifically requested that we have fun. Anybody here know who Captain Holt is? Where's all the fun? I specifically requested fun. Alright. Seems pretty cool. Love it. Want to be a friend and fan of sick ideas for your channel. Help me up on Discord. Interesting. Guys, this is a little dry. I'm eating a Italian grilled cheese. Alright. You guys know what the Renaissance Festival is? This is where we're going to be. Let me pull this up while we're talking. It's Italian because it's got pepperoni and salami on it. Oh, dude, these are so much fun. Me and the wife go to this every year. We're going tomorrow. It's already warm in Phoenix. Kane, how's it going? Looking at the Ren Fair. We've got good food. One of the things that I do Me and the wife always walk around. We always look for the pretzel guy. There's a guy who carries pretzels on a big, he carries them like on like a big banner. Let's see if we can find him. But he's always dodging us because I'm always looking for him to get pretzels from him. They have good food there, man. They have real good food there. It is always warm out here in Phoenix. Well, I was hoping to go out there when it was like in the 60s still, but it's going to be 70. It's 74 today. Yeah, I love this place, guys. It's really fun. But I've got a buddy. Let me show you guys this. I got a buddy who's getting his black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in March. And if you guys don't know, it's a big deal to get your black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. If you don't know that, oh, find somebody that has one and ask them about it. But one of my buddies is getting his black belt. And since he's doing that, I always give out nice gifts to my friends that make it. And I was looking for, I might get him, he was an infantry guy like me, and he's also been to combat. So I might get him, if one of these swords guys have a, if any of the sword guys, let's see if they, I think some of these guys have pictures, but if they have like a gladius, which is like a Roman short sword, I will get it for him. See, they have all these longer swords. They're about $5.50. Let's see what they got. It'll be a short sword. Shorter than any of these. These are all longer swords. I need a short one. No. Let's see if they got a gladius. Do you guys know a gladius, a Roman short sword? I don't see. They're not going to make them. Sorry, guys. I'm eating while we're hanging out. Somebody will have one. We'll just be wandering around. Me and the wife wander around while we're down there. They don't have anything on their page. That's okay. I don't blame them if they don't have cool pages. Because we will walk around to everything. That's one of the things we do. But yeah, it's fun. That's good. Yeah, so this is where we're going to be. It's a good time. It's 50 acres, man. It's this place is huge. If you've never been to the Arizona Renaissance Festival, I want to say they're on their 30-something year. Almost 40th years. They might say it. Always free parking, no pets. 10 a.m. they open. We're going to get out there about 11. And then they close at 6. And I told the wife if we were smart, we would have went out there tomorrow, Sunday. Because Sunday's the Super Bowl, so I don't expect nearly as many people to be out there on a Sunday, you know. Especially on big Super Bowl weekend, you know. Anyways, fun times. Let's see what the schedule of events is. This is the best. They give you this as a big map. So this is what's going on each day. So we're going to get out there at about 11. So we'll probably be getting in there about 11:15, 11:30. A little bit of time. Don Juan are hilarious. Barely Balanced are pretty great. They're going to be going on at 12:30, so maybe we'll see them. They Barely Balanced has like some DVDs and stuff. Yeah, they're fun. We've seen Cirque du Soleil is one of my wife's favorites. The girl does rats and cats, and then she gets up and does a slack line. So that's pretty fun. But Cirque du Sewer. Tartanic, they do the bagpipes and big drums. Those are really fun. And then they move around to the different... Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be good times. Brooklyn Nine-Nine Holt, absolutely. Yeah. Is it worthy of this product, or choose another project if it's going to get lyrics /or degree? I mean, I'm not sure about that. Oh yeah, sorry, but back. We'll keep looking at this. I'm just munching on food. That's why I'm kind of playing around. Oh, I'll take pics, Boris. Yeah, I'll put them up in the Discord. I just dropped crumbs all down myself. That's no good. All right, but after I get done eating, I'll turn my camera on because. Well, that's what the wife's doing. If you guys heard, she's doing a Galentine's Day with the girls. So her sister and then all the kids, all the nieces. All right. Yeah, I got crumbs all over. All right. That was okay. That little cheese thing was okay. Now this is what's going to be terrible. Is she got me a cool little pretzel, but there was no cheese to dip the pretzel in, so they were out of cheese. So that's like the worst. I don't want a pretzel with no cheese. Not a big soft pretzel anyways. All right. Anyways, where are we at? Ranger. Here. And then the question earlier, while I'm still munching here, had to deal with what you would put in here and why these things are good for you as in the security space, right? So what does this one do? Like what is this check doing in a Red Hat system? Let's do the first one real quick. Rel 9 must restrict access to the kernel message buffer. If people want to, they can do unauthorized information transfer if you don't have this set to restrict access to the kernel message buffer. Most of the time this is actually turned on by default. But what we can do is as just like a quick check on our system. Now we've seen how to scan our system, right? Like we know how to scan this. But technically I can take a box like this real quick and just real quick I could say, well, what about if I press up here and then I do a grep for, in this case it's probably demessage. I probably won't get too many. And there's demessage restrict 1. Yeah, it's set on like I kind of expected it would. No pretzels, no cheese at all. Yeah. So this system is protected to this one. If I was stigging this, if I was doing a manual, you guys, you do not ever want to do a manual stig. This is manually stigging this with no filters on would be 400 and something things, right? Oh, cookies without milk. Fair enough. Yeah, I don't like eating cookies without milk. I would create a checklist for this, right? And then now I would be down in the checklist here, and then I would add my filter for sys CTL, right? So now we're filtering, and then I would start to populate this with my findings for this system. So in this case, let me make this just a little bigger so you guys can read it all. We would come down here and we would say not a finding. The reason this is not a finding is this value right here. This is the actual finding details for Rocky 19. And then I would maybe save this right here. And I would say file save as, and then save this checklist as, excuse me, Rocky 19. Now, I've showed you guys this before with the scanning tools and stuff. You do not want to do these by hand, guys. Like this kind of checking, there are so many tools out there. Yeah, this Stig viewer is free. Yeah, you can get this from DISA Stig. Yeah, right on the old government site. Sorry, guys, still munching on my pretzel, or I'd be on camera. But that one's good. Not finding. Next one. Paranoid. Paranoid is set to 2. And what does paranoid mean? Well, preventing unauthorized information transfers mitigates the risk of information, including encrypted representations of information. So, setting this preventer to 2, or kernel parameter to 2, prevents attackers from gaining additional system information as a non-privileged user. So we're not allowing a non-privileged user to even see encrypted representation of information. Because, again, that's one of those things where if I can see even encrypted information, I could eventually try to work on it to figure something out from there. So, this is set to 2. Again, I got to really emphasize this. You guys don't want to do this like this. I'm just sitting here eating, and that's why I'm showing you guys like this. So this would be not a finding. Now, my data, not my target data, my STIGs for this box so far are 0.49 because it's not against just these 33. It's against all 400. But I'm slowly filling out my STIG score for this system. Now this next one is kexec load. Excuse me. Kexec. We'll just do an underscore. That's good. And that is disabled, right? And this prevents an unsigned kernel image that could be a Windows kernel or modified vulnerable kernel from being loaded. Kexec can be used to subvert an entire secure boot process and should be avoided at all costs. So we have that set. So we would come here, and again, you would never do this you'd never do this like this because there's tools out here. There's I even have one right here. There's the lockdown, right? And lockdown has an audit for all your RHEL 9 STIGs. And if I were to go dig in, I'd be willing to bet 257799, which is a let's see what type it is. It is a Cat 2. Watch, I could go to just the Cat 1s of this. There's no Cat 1s of this. They're all Cat 2. But it's a Cat 2. Okay, I'm just going to say overall again then. 257799. Real quick. Come back over here. Cat 2. 257. Oh, 257. Sorry, guys. Where's my mind at? Two five. I don't even see it in here. I wonder if you guys see it somewhere. I don't see it. I wonder if these are incomplete. Last update 2 years ago, and STIGs are way past all this. I'll go up here. Search. All right, all right. That's interesting. So they see this. And they got a STIG ID. Oh, STIG ID is different. 213020. 213020. 21. This is the check for that one. So here's the rule. And here's the thing. And the exit status is this or this. Look at all that. Look at that Ansible check. That's a pretty beefy check right there. Oh, for a kernel parameter. So look in here for the value, and it'll look in here to see if it's set in the future by just grepping it out of anywhere in there. So it's doing the same kind of things that we're doing, right? We'll see what it's doing. So again, you wouldn't go do these by hand necessarily, but that one's good. Not finding. KPTR. So I might maybe recommend, instead of going through and learning all the many thousands of types of kernel parameters that you may run into in your career, because you may run into a lot, guys. But a few things about this. You can configure all this stuff as you want. This is yours to configure in the systems world. Without and you wouldn't do, the question earlier was about like kernel personalization in the enterprise. This is the most you can do and still have support right here. Because if you go in and you start to again recompile kernels, you will not have, and if you do those type of things, you just have to understand you're not going to have support still from the vendor. They always have something that explicitly says, if you use exactly the kernel we have, we guarantee these things work. But if you go mucking around with stuff, then they're going to recommend that you change it all back. All right. Protected hard links. You can't create a hard or a soft link to a file you don't own. That's really funny. I'd be willing to bet this is already set. But if not, it's good to know, right? Oh, hard. Trying to type with one hand while I have a buttery, tasty thing in the other. Boom. So, even if you were trying to check these yourself, you could probably see that it wouldn't be hard to write a little script to do it. I'm just saying there's plenty of them out there, guys. There's plenty of both bash-based script and, in this case, Ansible-based scripts that'll do all of this for you. All right. Now let's say I do symlinks here. Let's see, FS protected symlinks is one. And let's just say that I did this. And then for some reason it the way it was set and the way we want it to be set wasn't adhering to this. There's a few I can show you. Let me go find one that's really like this. Hold on. Not these ones. Not these ones necessarily. Hold on. Let's see if I can find one that... Those are all IPv4 stuff. All right. This is one that I would probably need an exception for. Let's do JIT. So there's this JIT enable harden. In this case, harden has to be set to 2. And let's just say for fun, then in our system, this was set to 1. But I am using a supercomputer, right? I am using this for high performance compute, and maybe this is one of my compute nodes that are coming out, right? And I'm reporting on Rocky 19, one of my compute nodes. So what I might do is leave this one open, right? It's going to be red. In my comments, I would say, sorry guys, I'm typing with one hand. Or well, hold on, let me go wash my hands real quick. All right. Back. Get back in serious mode here. Turn that off. That on. All right. You guys are gonna have to watch me chew for a second here. All right. So, I use the example of the government a lot, but it doesn't matter if your customer is the government. The customer could be one of you guys, and you could be telling me, "Hey, build me a supercomputer," and I would say, "Okay." I'd build you a computer and a rack, and we'd do all this stuff. Typically, multiple racks. Some of the systems I'm working on have up to 80 racks of servers, right? And I'm talking full, 80U or whatever they are. I don't know, 60, maybe they're 60U, but whatever, they're big. And the point is, you do all this, and the must remain the state until acceptance tested. So what would happen is I would run an acceptance test at some point, and you guys would check off all the things are happening like you expect. You're getting the performance and the speed and the security requirements and all the things for the system. And once the acceptance test is done, the system belongs to you. And then you can go change this if you want. But we have to leave it set like this. Maybe this is going to knock 3% CPU off of every one of our long-running MPI jobs across all of our systems or something, right? We have these burn-in jobs that are running across multiple compute nodes, and Slurm or whatever our tool is kicking it off. Platform, it could be Platform LSF, Slurm. What's that one? The other workload, it's like BLS or something. So, anyways, the point is, you get the acceptance test through, and it's typically a 2-week or a 1-month long process of us proving the system is stable and that it works, and then we give it to your team, right? Your government team or your customer team or whoever else is going to own it. Typically, it's basically like we hand you the keys, and then you guys lock us out. You change whatever you want. And then it's your system from then on. Chris said there's a million tools to choose to do what you need. How do you choose one? Yeah, so this is, that's a separate, so the way that tends to happen is there's going to be some kind of team somewhere. In maybe it's government and it's coming down by fiat, or it's some customer team and they're like, we're going to apply the DISA STIGs, or we're going to apply the CIS benchmarks, or we're going to apply at least minimum the PCI security requirements. And then that right there is going to determine what structure or framework we use. And then I can use anything that's within that framework, basically. How I picked this tool, this is what the government accepted. The government always wanted things, what they call ISSOs, which are the Information System Security Officers. They always want something in this type of format, and then they can open it and they can read it and they can see exactly where our compliance is on a system. And they can fix anything that they need to and change anything kind of that they need to. But this kind of gives us a way to give them a base report of the system. Let me clear this off so you guys can see. Remove all filters. And you see there's actually 401 of these. We were only looking at a few of them. We were looking at the ones that were specifically around kernel parameters that you can change. So yeah, there was a question about that. I mean, you said I was seeing if a good project to do for my master's degree work or on something else. I mean, it's going to depend on what's interesting to you, and what your degree is in, because you got to tie whatever it is back to your degree. I've seen some pretty cool projects over the years where people do, you tune down your TCP settings to where you can get the maximum efficiencies, within a cluster or something. You could do that. You can do a lot of stuff. I mean, really, it's just find something that somebody else has not done, or you find something that's similar to what's you want to do, and then you build off of their research if it's for your master's degree or whatever. I guess it kind of depends. All right, so that is a thing that you guys can play with. That was just us messing around in here while I was eating. Let's see where Ranger is. How's Ranger doing? He's wandering around. The wife already left. He's licking his bench. My guard dog, guys. I think he's slowly losing his mind. Maybe it's not even slowly anymore. I'm pretty sure he's never messed with the blinds before now. This is new behavior. I'm gonna have to tell the wife. I'm gonna be like, Ranger's been messing with the blinds. Freaking my dog, man. Alright. What are we doing today then? I worked all day. I just did a whole bunch of college stuff, like catching up. And typically, when we hang out here, we just kind of do whatever, I don't know, whatever's interesting to us. So we could start building out this part of the lab that we had been discussing, which is this part over here. We got a whole system over here. We were starting to build out C router. Oh yeah, we had a problem with C router in that we couldn't just move the template over there. So we were going to have to build a whole new system, which seems to me like a little bit onerous. And then I think we had put, let me go check some stuff. I think we had already put him in I thought we had already put the new C router as 161. But maybe I did not. See, there's 160. No, I must not have done it. Alright, well, we could build him out and go that route and start setting that all up. Or, like, all I ever want to do is just mess around. Or I guess I could build out a lab. I have labs to build out. I have a whole bunch of notes over here on labs that I want to do in Killer Coda. So I want to write some more Killer Coda labs. What else? We could go through. Pull up my Anki. I haven't pulled this up in a long time. I wonder if this is even going to open still. This old Anki tool. No. Do we have? Oh, we don't have the newer Security Plus acronyms. This was when we used to sit around here and study while we were working on other stuff. I think one of the problems I had with this was I never got this tool to. I think I never got this tool to just automatically run, and that was why I never kept sticking with it. Alright, we won't mess with that. Let's go build. We could do. Could open up another session to this system and show you guys the fun stuff that we could do with strace to watch like what a user's doing if we wanted to do that. We could I don't know, this is the end of Friday type problem, right? Where it's just like you're beat. So you've been working on stuff all week. So you just want to be like Ranger and wander around and be lost. Let's that one's not bad. All right, I got an idea for what we could do. Let's go look at something we haven't looked at in a while. I'll talk about something that I haven't talked about on stream in quite some time. Give me a second here. It's in my Linux stuff. Here we go. I know what'll be fun. This one will be fun. This will get people talking. Let's talk about in our presentations, right? Different presentations that we've had over the time. Let's talk about I think people like this one, so we'll do this one. When's the last time you guys saw, or has anybody here seen me talk about like excelling in the engineering field, like what I think you should do to be good at engineering? Does anybody want to see that? I mean, from a guy who's been doing it for a long time, and then maybe also has been. Now, I originally wrote this up for my college students, so that's why you're going to see it as after college, but then I have this little burn-in that says for anyone, right? So this is kind of my talk on how you can be, if you're in engineering, how you can stay relevant. If you want to get into engineering, what I think you should be doing. And then, how's it going, non-major nerd? I didn't really have anything to do, so I just decided I'd do this because I think that if nothing else, this will probably be useful to some people. If it's not useful to you, that's fine too. For anybody that does not find this super useful. There's also soft engineering skills, which we'll see if we make it to that one. I'll get all this stuff out of the way. And then this one's excelling in the engineering field for anyone, right? Like this is not just for people in college. Although I did originally write this for my college students I wrote it for the Linux group first, and then I brought it into my college students to say, hey, the thing about like education is it's not just a one-time thing. You need to have a plan. You need to think about how to stay ready to do the things that we do in the engineering field, right? Like if you say, well, I went and got these skills once, but then the industry moved over here and you're still kind of over here. Maybe you're really good at that one thing, but the industry doesn't necessarily need it anymore. Like if you're really good at what's that old AS400? Does anybody here remember AS400? You might be an expert in AS400, There's probably like 2 people on planet Earth that still even know what that is. There's probably a few more that know what it is, but I'm saying like there's maybe 2 companies anywhere that are even running that anymore, right? So the idea, especially in tech, that you're just going to learn once and then you're going to be the, you know, you're just going to be the engineer forever. It's kind of true in that like the basic engineering concepts don't change over time, right? The basic things that we do as engineers don't change over time, but the way that they're done and the way that the technologies are implemented are, yeah. There's so many S400s still in production. Maybe, yeah. You might find some companies that are still running them, I guess, but yeah, I'd be surprised if if anybody could show me like 2 or 3 of them. But yeah, I mean they're still out there, sure. The things that I know for sure are still running are like Fortran and those kind of things because we still use them in weather models and stuff. So there's all that. So hey, thanks guys for the follows. If I missed mentioning them, I appreciate it. So here's my kind of quote to get to the point, right? We're engineers. We deal in truth. Now, there's all kinds of people that are going to wax intellectual and try to be esoteric about things and try to, give you platitudes about there's no such thing as truth. Well, that's fine if that's what you want to go with. But as engineers, we deal in truth. We deal with ones and zeros. We deal with something being set the way that we expect or not, right? We deal in truth. And we express that truth as 1 or 0, true or false, yes or no values, right? They're binary values, right? So our utility or the value added to a company is directly related to what we know and how quickly we can get to the right answer. That's the value that we add. And there's 2 ways that manifests right here. Sometimes we're called on to answer like what's the best technology for a program or a problem. And then sometimes we're called on to fix a problem and troubleshoot things. So either we're building something new or designing something or planning something. That's this first part, right? How do we best solve some problem? Or we're fixing some engine, some cycle, some process that's already there, right? And the reason we're called engineers, even though we're not working on combustion engines, is the things that we're working on still cycle like an engine. So we're still working through a cycle, right? In any case, but our knowledge and finding solutions are what we bring to the table. So that's the value add that we have, right? And to that point, and if we understand and believe these things to be true, then our value to a business is understanding how to keep ourselves ready to do that, right? Like, how do I keep myself ready to show or build out a new technology to solve a problem? How do I troubleshoot and fix the things that are in place? These are the 2 things that we do, right? Did RPG coding too, but not seen them in the industry now. Interesting. Yeah. So let's go down here. Here's the overview of this. It's continuing education. I added a section to this. Some of you may have seen this before, but never seen this section. It's like learning how you learn. You're going to learn. People are going to learn different than other people, but it may surprise you to find that most people still do learn in very similar ways. Some people will say, well, I like to have my coffee first and I like to do this. Okay, sure. There's differences in, like, some people like to study in the morning, some people like to study in the afternoon. There's those differences, obviously. But the way you learn things is pretty well documented. Like, we know how to put information into a human's brain. Like, that's a pretty solved problem as far as, like, schooling and knowledge transfer of colleges and stuff. And you might say, really? I'd say, yeah, I'd say that's pretty, like, we know how people think. We understand how, there's a tool called Bloom's taxonomy. Like, we understand how to stuff things into your brain. And I'll show you that here in a second. But yeah, you learn a lot like other people. People think that they have more differences in how they learn than with other people than they have similarities. And I'd argue that's not necessarily the case when you look at people that want to actually learn something. Certifications, you can go get certifications. I got a whole bunch of certs in here. Free stuff you don't have to go spend any money on. Free things to study that you can go pay and take a cert if you want. And then stuff where you would have to, like, pay up and down the board. So I have a bunch of certification stuff in here. And then my ideas of what I think you should do to practice, like home lab, professional projects, personal projects, those kind of things. What type of book collection I think you should have, if you should even collect books. You can go get all kinds of books on the internet, right? I think that you should have some books on probably a deeper, knowledge of the things you want. Maybe that one is, I don't know, anymore nowadays. It's probably almost fair to say Chat GPT supplants that, but it was still pretty active or accurate when I first put that up. And then maybe what I think is the most important one for you guys is the industry discussion groups, podcasts, blogs, open source community. Like, if you tell me, hey Scott, I want to get into tech, and I'm not in any way in tech, like I'm serving drinks at the local Starbucks. There's nothing wrong with that, but the way that people talk, serving drinks down at the Starbucks, and the people that are going to talk to you and interact with you, they are not going to talk to you like engineers. They're not going to talk to you about the technologies that are out there. So I think what you want to do, this is my personal, opinion from having done this for a long time, is start talking to people that do talk like that, right? Like, get yourself in somebody's Discord that's talking about this stuff. Go watch streams about people talking about things that are interesting to you, right? Get involved. There's a whole bunch of. See if I can find this real quick. Let's just go right here, and let's say Reddit CISSP study guide, right? I already have my CISSP, but I remember coming in here and looking when I was first studying for it. It would have been back in like 2017, I think, and they had, I want to say it was this one, but I think it was. Let me see. No, that's not a very good one. Let's see if I can find a better one of these. No, somebody has the, not study guide, but let's see if we can see the podcast list. I used to have this linked somewhere. Yeah, here's one right here, and then I think they even have an updated version of it. This one's a little bit old, so I'd bet half of these are gone nowadays. But if anybody wants it, I'll link it to you guys. Actually, this is the original one I had. Yeah, AVEFOD. Yeah, and where I'm going with this is for you guys that are interested in this stuff. This is what I would go start to listen to. I don't know how good any of these are. I don't know any of them. I don't listen to any of them personally, but I'm also not trying right now to get in the industry. If I was trying to get into the industry, I would be spending more time around those. If I was doing my AWS certs still, I have 5 of them. I need to start refreshing them if I want to keep them. But when I was studying for those, I was spending a whole lot of time in the reInvent series where they were coming up there and talking about what people were doing. And that's all on YouTube. There's literally thousands of hours on YouTube for like the last 4 years of reInvent. And I would highly advise going to watch some of those if you were going to take some of those certs, right? So anyways, there's that. And then I tell you guys all the time, if you get past all this and you look around and you're like the lead at your company and you're doing all this stuff and you're moving up and they're trying to make you a manager, but you're still trying to stay an engineer, I would tell you the next best thing to do when you've done all this stuff and you feel pretty good about this, start mentoring others. And you might say, yeah, I don't have anything to give anybody else. Well, if you're already pretty good at what you do, you could at least show them your techniques, right? But what you're going to find this if you start mentoring other people, if you're doing this stuff and you feel comfortable about it, is this is the one thing about mentoring others that probably is one of the most valuable, especially for people that teach, is people ask questions that you don't ask. People think about things completely different than you do because you've been trained up in a system and they're new, they don't know the system yet. So when they ask a question, if you're smart, you'll listen to the way they ask the question and think, huh, I never even thought about that. That is an interesting way to solve a problem that I didn't even know was a problem because I thought it was a solved thing. And look, sometimes people come at something wrong and you have to put them on the right track and tell them, no, y does equal mx plus b or whatever. Like that is the equation. We're not going to approach that a different way. But sometimes in engineering for sure. There's a lot of different ways to do things, right? So anyways, all right, so let's go look at this. So learning how you learn. There are ways that we learn differently, but these are the things that I would tell you to for sure do if you wanted to get into tech. Figure out what schedule works for you. How are you going to study? When are you going to do it? A little daily is better than cramming once a week. That's also true in working out. It's not a good thing to just try to cram on a Friday and do all your working out. You got to do it throughout the week. You got to have time to recover in there and stuff. And your brain's kind of the same way too. You can't just cram everything in there. Which, by the way, if you've ever been to college and you hate those stupid discussion posts that have to be spaced out throughout the week, the reason they do that is to get you thinking about it throughout the week. It's right. It's again, people are pretty well known on how information gets into their head. But here's your questions. Do you need a Pomodoro timer? Do you need something to keep you on task so you're not picking your phone up? I pick my phone up all the time when I'm working, and it's a bad habit for me. It slows me down. I mean, it doesn't stop me from doing stuff, but it definitely slows me down. Can you sit and watch videos for hours? Are you the type of person that can watch a video while they do something else? I might challenge you if you can do that. You might have work that doesn't challenge you enough, right? But also, this is huge. You don't find time, you make time. You have to choose to do things. Figure out what you're interested in, right? Take a self-assessment on what you're interested in. We have one in Discord, and then work on projects that allow you to do what you're interested in. So you do not have to focus. If you're trying to get into Linux, and we have people do this a lot. They come in here and they're like, Scott, I'm using Arch Linux. And I'm like, well, that's cool. Were you using nothing before? Well, that's really good then to be in Arch Linux now. If you were if you were never touching any command line, probably the best thing to do is get in anything, any kind of command line. But if you were let's say, well, Scott, I've been using this for 2 years. Should I keep using Arch Linux, or should I go jump over and start doing more Red Hat? I would say, well, if we look at the job boards, there are 999 Red Hat jobs for every one Arch job. In fact, I've never seen an Arch job. So I don't know how many Arch jobs there are, but I've never even heard of one. So where I'm going with that is maybe I would tell you, you're already good at the hands-on. You know your disks, you know your CPU, you know your memory, you know your networking, you know the big four. You know how to check them, you know all that stuff. Why don't you start going and doing that in Red Hat so you can put that on a resume? Does that kind of make sense? So I'm a big fan of thinking about what your goals are. And you could do any project that you want. But I'm just saying you'll eventually start to say, well, I'm having fun as a hobbyist, but I want to do this as a professional, so I need to start doing it like a professional, right? I may really enjoy, I don't know, some sport, but if I'm not going to do it exactly like the professionals, I shouldn't try to go do it in a professional league, right? I'm not doing it the same way as them. And it's the same kind of idea, I guess, for this. So learning how you learn, yeah, make sure you set up a schedule, make sure you figure out what you're interested in. It'll make things easier. And if you guys want that, the system, I think it's here in projects. Let me see. For sure, there's one slide of it right here, because this was a self-assessment that some of you guys did in the course. But if we go up just a little bit more, yeah, here's your, this was a Linux evaluation if you wanted to see how ready you were. Do you guys want to see this one? Let me pull this up real quick. I guess I just download it and run it. I'll just open it like this. And then this was a evaluation that I used to give the engineers at AAA back in the day. Hold on, I'll pull that up again. I want to see if I have, where is this at? Let me pull up the system administration thing real quick. So what might a self-assessment look like? Let me see if I can show you guys that. Hold on. ProLUG presentations. I think it's called self-assessment. Yeah, right here. So here's my little self-assessment if you guys wanted to see this. And this is a way to do it. It's not the only way to do a self-assessment. You could make your own, but this is an example. This is one that I like to use with engineers. So self-assessment looks like this. There's a methodology. You'll see if you guys ever, Let me make myself a little smaller here. Hold on. Camera, gone. Camera, smaller. Hold on. Not what I wanted. Where am I at? Camera. Why can't I change the camera right now? Let me check something, guys. That's weird. It's like you can't change the camera while... Oh, well. Whatever. Let me get myself out of the way then. I'm out of the way. You guys can't see me anymore. So, I always have these 5 steps, right? There's a purpose, a scope, what's in scope, what's out of scope, a methodology, and a control. And this was originally done. I originally wrote this up as a self-assessment for an engineering team that I was on. And the manager had come to me and said, "Hey, Scott, the people on the team, I want them to do kind of a, we do an assessment every year as a college." It was a college that I was working for their high performance compute team. And they said, "Hey, Scott, can you give me a example here of," I'll move this up a little bit. Let me move this out of the way. All right, you guys should be able to see that. And they said, "Hey, can you give me an example of like what a, what it might look like to do like a self-assessment?" And I said, "Yeah, okay, this is about what I would make it look like." And it looks like this. So here's your technical self-assessment. This is your value of your skills. Now look, if you look at this, right, and you go down the board and you go, I'm a 10, 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 and you do that, okay, that's cool. That's cool. You're a 10. But then there's nothing to improve, and honestly, you're wasting your time hanging out with me, right? Like, or anybody, really. You're probably just the best there ever was, right? So you're probably not at a 10 on everything. If you're honest, you're probably maybe high on some of these things, but maybe you're medium on other things, and there's no shame in that. I wouldn't SVN get, I'm probably like a 5 at. Like, I'm okay. Automation, I'm probably a little higher. Monitoring, I'm probably a little higher. Database, I'm probably like a 2. I'm okay. I can do a SQL query, but I'm no good at it. I'm definitely not proficient at it, right? I would say you're proficient over here. You don't need to look up notes and stuff. But anyways, so you do a self-assessment of your skill, and then you come down here and you do a self-assessment of your interests. By the way, my interest in database is like a 1. I have 0 interest, really, maybe even 0. I don't really care to do database work. I will help a database engineer if they need help on a Linux box to troubleshoot something. But for the most part, I'm not like going in and like optimizing his database or anything. That's not what I do, right? So again, you want to take your skill against your interests and help that to figure out what you want to do. Another one that I have down here is a business self-assessment. Here's some business things that you might care about how good you are. And then an interest thing. If you don't have any interest in public speaking and you don't have any skills in public speaking, that's probably fine. But I'm going to tell you, almost all of these things right here are going to be required if you want to move up towards management or if you want to move up towards being like a principal engineer. Principal engineers have to have time management, public speaking, and vendor interaction skills. They might not need to manage others and do budgets so much, but they're definitely doing time management, public speaking, and vendor interactions. You've never met a principal engineer that hasn't talked to a group of at least 100 engineers. Never once. I don't think they exist. You would have to, like almost by definition, you would have talked to big groups of engineers explaining something you were doing, right? So anyways, and then, so you get through that. And then here's another one. This is a thing that businesses do a lot. It's called a SWOT analysis, right? And there's strengths and weaknesses, which tend to be internal to your control. And then external outside your control tends to be opportunities and threats. But there's asterisks there. And the asterisks are, generally speaking, as you can somewhat affect them. So internal strengths, what do you do well? How do you excel? How do you like to learn? Those are things that you might be good at. Weaknesses, things you do not do well. Maybe when you could be studying as hard as you want, But if you hear Futurama on in the other room, you go in and you go out there and watch Futurama every time. I got a weakness. I got to watch it. Or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Oh, I could watch that show for hours, right? Well, there you go. That's a thing that would be wasting your time. And that may be things that you feel as a weakness, right? I need to stay away from those things, right? And then external or outside your control, like opportunities or courses you can take, market needs. Like if the market really needs a bunch of Linux engineers and you happen to be a Linux engineer, there you go. Employment opportunities, those are things that are outside your control, but if you go and start looking for them and putting in jobs, you may hear back from people. You may get better ideas of what, if you go hang out in our Discord, we have a whole section where people go and post their resumes and they try to get advice on how to make their resumes look better, right? Threats might be market saturation. You might just be like, man, there's so many Linux engineers around here. I don't think I've ever heard that in all my life. I've only ever heard from people, man, I can't find a good Linux engineer. I've heard that literally hundreds, if not maybe bordering on thousands of times in my career. People will message me, hey, do you got a Linux engineer you can recommend? And almost universally I can't because I don't have anybody that fits whatever they want, Industries move quickly. That's true. You may be using some tool that's no longer working, right? Or no longer being deployed. And then there's geopolitical. You may have had a blossoming business in the last few years. Anybody here doing any business in the last few years with Russia? Nope, not anymore. Not if you're an American. You're not doing nothing with Russia anymore. And that could have affected you. Didn't do anything. The people you were trying to sell to weren't doing anything. But now because of this geopolitical war, and whatever, and again, whatever you think of it, it definitely has been a threat to you because now you can't sell your product there and they can't buy your product, and it has nothing to do with either of you two, right? Like as far as that goes. So anyways, and look, I'm not getting into who's right or wrong in any of that stuff. It's just these things happen and you have to figure it out, right? So SWOT analysis might look like this. You put your strengths up here, your weaknesses here, your opportunities and your threats, and it tells you where to focus your time, things that you're strong, and then how can you mitigate your threats and focus on your opportunities, right? These are things that you can do. And if nothing else, it at least gives you time to focus on, how you learn and what you want to study and stuff. All right. So that's up in the Discord. Let me show you. I'll show you guys the Linux thing because I don't know. Maybe this is interesting to you. This is where the hell is this at? This is a Linux study guide I used to give. A practice test I used to give to people when I was the platform engineering lead over at AAA. And let me pull this up real quick. Hold on. Boom. And this is just if people told me, like people from some of the different teams, specifically almost always like our NOC team, like our monitoring team, I would give them this. Have you guys seen this before? I think I showed this to Linux Systems Administration group a while back. But if you guys have never seen this, this is a way that I did this. I don't know why I have an Ubuntu machine on there because we weren't using Ubuntu at the time. Maybe I'd built some for them. I don't remember. All right. And then so this is a thing that I used to give them. We would do kind of like these little lunchtime learning sessions, and I would just have them go through it. And I would make them do this like a little warm-up. You could just practice a little bit. I say right here, you can use Google. You could take this home. Nothing's trying to stump you. But if you get stuck, you can use Q. You can hit Control-C, unbreak almost anything. And then copying and pasting is not encouraged because Windows doesn't format well. It's a little different than the Unit 1. Oh, maybe it is some of the same stuff. It has got a lot of the same stuff in there. It's similar to that. Yeah, I think I took this from that. So this would be a thing like for my little evaluation. Now, it's not necessarily like again, I wasn't trying to maybe trick people or anything, but more for when they did it. Right? They could then I could ask them things about like, well, okay, so what did you just see? How was the system booted? Why might I want to know that? What are the different options with uname? And could I tell the kernel architecture of the underlying CPU based on the kernel? Could I tell the architecture of the underlying CPU? The underlying chip that the system's on. Could I tell? Just all kinds of things, right? Like you can go and you could start to ask questions about this stuff. You could start to think like, oh, I don't know anything about this. I need to maybe go spend a little more time with it. You might say, well, I didn't even know what a Rocky 9 was before I hit that button. Now I know that there's a thing called Rocky 9.4, so that implies that there were things before Rocky 9.4. And if somebody were to ask me what's the difference between Rocky 9 and Rocky 9.4, would I know how to like answer that? Would I know how to go figure that out? Why might somebody be asking me that? Well, because maybe they've got a box still on Rocky 9 and they need to know what the changes are between Rocky 9 and Rocky 9.4. Am I going to find that all in one place, or am I going to have to look at the patch release notes for 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, and 9.4 to aggregate everything together to figure out what's different, right? And you might say, Scott, that sounds like a bit much. Yeah, it is a lot, right? Like we're putting on our big boy pants and doing Linux, right? Like there's a lot of stuff here, a lot of stuff that we're trying to run systems for a company. This is no different than like keeping a fleet of trucks running or keeping we're keeping systems running so that they can run processes for these people, So anyway, so there's this, and then we go down and we look at the RAM, we look at the type of processor, and I did this actually. I think sometimes I would just sit there for like an hour with the guys. I used to do this with the different teams and people that wanted to come over and start working on the Linux team, and I would just run them through this, and then some of them by the end of it were like, I don't really want to do Linux, and I'm like, yeah, I hear that. I hear that a lot from people. You actually go in here and you're like, none of this is sticking. This isn't even interesting to me. And I go, well, better to find that out now than years later when you're hating it. I'd rather find out now that I don't like doing this and then go be a network engineer or something. Probably going to hate networking too if you hate this stuff. But, I did networking at the start of my career and I didn't love networking. So I moved over to Linux, right? All right. So anyways, those are things that you can do. All right. So how do you learn? This is a tool called Bloom's Taxonomy. I love it. I think it's a great thing to understand about how people learn stuff. One of the first ways that people learn things is they can recall basic facts. They can go to something like this, and they can go down to the bottom of this, and they just kind of know things. They know that AAA means authentication, authorization, and accounting. Might not be great at explaining these things deeply, but they know that that's what those things are, right? And then maybe they know that CERT is this computer emergency response team, but they don't necessarily know what it would mean to set escalation times for enterprise management in there. They might not know what that is, but they might know what a CERT is, right? They might know what a BIOS is, but they can't tell you much about resetting them or what it looks like to pull the battery out of one and what the implications of that are. Like what things are still, when you take the BIOS battery out and then you pop the jumper, there are some things that are going to stay and there's some things that are going to leave. and the difference between those things is volatile and non-volatile memory, right? But do you understand like what's happening? Githroll said, I'm curious, have you ever heard of any support engineer to server desktop ratio in industry? I guess I don't know what that is. I don't know. No, I don't know that I've ever heard of a ratio. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I would probably venture to guess most people doing Linux are over on the server side. I've not seen people run. Let's think how to say this. At Red Hat, so when Red Hat used to come down and bring 20, 30 of their engineers at a time, because we were a pretty big contract over at AAA, the majority of their engineers would be running Fedora, not Red Hat on their desktop, Fedora on their desktop, so the open source stuff. And I suspect most of their stuff was self-built, at least from the guys that I had talked to and looked at their desktops. Like they just were given carte blanche to do whatever they want, right? Just you know. Oh, how many engineers do you need to run X systems? Oh, I did a spreadsheet for that one time for a manager, and it had to do with the amount of hours that we were using. No, Kithro, I don't have a good one of those. I had an estimate that I did once for a manager that thought that, and the way it turned out to be, was for about 1,200 systems, a little over 1,200 systems. And the work that we were doing, we had at the time 3 of us on the team, and the math on the number of tickets that were coming in each week, the amount of time that it took to close the tickets. I basically just made a little spreadsheet that did a bunch of things, and it said that we should have about 9 engineers on the team. And then they brought that team up to 8 engineers and then I left. So I was on that team for a year to help them rebuild that team up to 8 engineers, and then I ended up leaving. So that's yeah, I guess so in my, rough calculations that I had put together and given to the manager, it was that was 1,260 or so. I don't know. That's about what that one came out to, Kithro. But I don't think that's a 1-to-1 because it really depends. I mean, I know guys who run 16,000 systems in NASA projects, 16,000 plus systems with like 5 guys. Cap Chica, my company has a 12 per system per 16-hour ratio. Interesting. Interesting. So, back to learning. You have glossary facts, you just know things, you know acronyms. Then you can start putting them together. Then you can start applying that to problems and taking information in from problems and solving them using the pieces that you know, basically putting the puzzle together. Then you can analyze and show relationships and causes, and you can look at symptoms of things and try to figure out what's happening and going wrong inside of these systems that you've started to understand, these cycles. And then up here you can justify and take a stand or a position on something and say, this is objectively right because of, these inputs cause these problems, and I know that this is the best way. If I stand up a Linux box, it is going to have SSH locked down in such a way that on port 22, the only people that can come in are authorized. They are general users above the number 1,000 for user ID, and this and this and this. And you can justify or take a stand on a position and explain why you know that from the lower components, right? And then creating is the idea that you can produce something new. If you break this down into college level, these first 2, maybe even up into the 3rd one, are really your bachelor's degree. Maybe bachelor's degree starts to come up here into analyzing. And then 4 and 5 tend to be your master's degree. And then 6 and 5 together tend to be your doctorate. So if you guys are wondering about that stuff. All right. I can tell you that I can run, Kithro, I can tell you I can run a system of, biggest system I've run with just myself. I mean, I've had other engineers during the day then doing stuff, but like I can keep a system running with automation and stuff up in the many thousands. Like biggest systems I've run are probably about 5,000 systems total. But I mean, look, if things were to go off the rails and really go wrong, I would need more people to help me get back on. Work with about 1K systems in research and have semi-hands-on approach to support. Every day feels like crazy firefight. Yeah, Kithro, it does kind of, it's funny what it keeps thinking your name is. I kept throwing it, not Kithro. Oh, well. Anyways. a thousand systems, and I can tell you this. There's also a lot of it depends on how much it's been built as one-off systems and how much it's been built as like a pipeline flow. And this was actually something that I showed when I was working at that college. All of my systems that I was producing were built the exact same way and with the same exact playbook, and they were stood up the same way every time. And they, barring some major part failure, which does happen, hardware fails in systems, but barring that, my systems were very, very straightforward and easy to maintain and work on and stuff, and update and all those kind of things because they were all exactly the same. But if stuff's been spackled on over here and spackled on over there, and just building a little mud hut and throw some more mud over here and some more mud over there, and now all of a sudden you have 1,000 nodes, I could see that being a nightmare to try to keep, because every system is what we call a snowflake. Now, the snowflake thing isn't the meltdown online type snowflake that people like to make fun of each other. Funniest thing about it is when people on both sides are talking about the other side being a snowflake. But no, I'm talking when a server is a unique little snowflake and it's all by itself, built its own little way, and it's got its little Snuggie on and everything's its own little way. That does make everything hard to troubleshoot. Pets versus cattles is one of the best technology terminologies I've ever heard. Yeah, we love pets. We bring them inside. Cattle stay outside. They eat the grass and then they turn into food eventually, right? That's the kind of idea. If I can build stuff through a pipeline, everything later is easier. It's one of these things. It's like how do you want your hard? Do you want your hard now or do you want your hard later? Right? They say suffer the pain of discipline or suffer the pain of regret or something like that. Something like that. It's the same idea. And I find that if we just spend a little time doing stuff right up front, it makes everything else easier. Windows servers as pets. Yeah, I can imagine. All right. So more learning how you learn. Oh, I should be able to pop myself back up. I had my camera off because I was doing something that was getting in the way. But learning how you learn. This is much more for hands-on tasks. This is not. I don't even think. Well, let's just go through it. So this is what's called the unconscious competence model or the conscious competence model. And this is a thing. I see this one similar to like what if you guys know what Dunning-Kruger is, right? Whatever that one is about people being dumb and not knowing what they're talking about. This one's kind of similar to that. And there's two different ways, two different axes that we're going to look at. There's the conscious and competence one. There's conscious and unconscious, and then there's the competence and incompetence one, right? And you tend to start in the bottom left, right? Start in the bottom left down here. You are unconsciously incompetent. You don't know what you don't know, right? There's some topic, and you don't know that if you were to open the box on the top of that topic, that you would just fall into a whole world of hurt. There's all kinds of terminologies, right? There's all kinds of things you have to learn to even start to get the concepts to go up. In fact, this is the argument a lot of people have when they're like, I can't even have the argument with you about this thing because you literally don't even know the component pieces of the terminology that I would have to use to talk to you about it, right? I have a buddy, he's all but dissertation on his PhD, so he's ABD, which is all but dissertation on his PhD in economics. And people will argue with him all the time online about stuff, and he's just like, and I've watched people call him. They're like, oh, this sounds like a Dunning-Kruger thing. Like you don't even know what you're talking about. And he's like, you can't even tell me what discrimination is in a price model, right? Like you don't even know the thing that I would try to argue with you about here, right? And anyways, it's a kind of funny thing. But the point is, you start out down here, whatever other things are, and then you move up here. You become conscious of the fact that you don't know things. You've opened the box, as it were, and now you know that you don't know. Or you don't know, but you know that you don't know and you want to learn, typically, right in here, right? And then you move over here and you start to develop some proficiency. You get some knowledge around a thing. Maybe you can put some of those, ideas together in some type of coherence. And but you do have to actively think and apply it to think of how the components work and to build everything up. And this is what's called being consciously competent in a thing. And then you go down here to unconsciously competent, where you're just on autopilot. You're like, you don't even have to think about it anymore. You're proficient applying the knowledge, and you have to real tasks. So this is like most of you probably when you're driving. You can just drive your car, and you're not even thinking about what you're doing with your feet or your hands or your shifter or your turn signals. Some of you just don't even use your turn signals. Anyway, so there's this, right? But I would argue, as an engineer, the reason to know this model, obviously when you're first starting out, know that there's a lot of things to know. And know that if somebody's trying to show you something, sometimes there's things that don't matter that much, right? Like it doesn't, like getting that deep into something doesn't matter right now. And then when you finally get some conscious competence, then you can go back and look at that stuff. But I would argue as an engineer, you want to stay up here. You never want to just relax and go down here and just go, especially in technology nowadays, and just stay down here and be like, oh, I'm just going to be a Linux engineer forever and I'm not going to learn Git. I could have done that 10 years ago. When people started telling me, hey, man, Scott, we really need to get all these like scripts that you guys have down here on this team up into Git, and we need to start to do that. I could have been like, I ain't going to learn that. I wouldn't have stuck around very long if I had done that, because literally every Linux engineering team I've been on in the last, for sure the last like 6 years now, everybody had to know Git. You had to know how to commit your stuff up to, I wouldn't even call it a code base. It would just be like where we used to keep all our scripts, you know, our scripts directories that just used to be in like root bash scripts or just bash scripts somewhere in the OS. Like we used to just keep them out on a box somewhere in our jump box. We don't do that anymore. We push them up and then they can be tracked, and we could know what version was called against. Like there's all kinds of things we can do now, right? So anyways, oh, hold on, I missed something. Yeah, nearly every system we have is a different configuration. Yeah. That's a nightmare. That's a nightmare. Everything being different. Oh yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm on a build team right now, and we just go build like brand new stuff, and everything's standardized, and everything. It does make things nice and easy, unless the factory has built them. So like a lot of times our factory will put the things together, like Dell especially, they'll put things together, and then my team will take over and we'll lay all the personalization of the OSs and stuff. And it's just like, it's annoying when like half the servers in one of the rack just have like their IPMIs flipped, and you're like, who, you know, some guy like did a shift change at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and the next guy came in and just started doing them backwards, and you're like, anyways, so that's a nightmare sometimes, but for the most part, that's always all right. Anyway, so learn how you learn. All right, so certifications. There's a lot of certifications out there. I don't think you need a degree or a certification to get into this field. Does it help? Sure. There's a lot of things that help, but I don't think you necessarily need those things. But here's some good ones, right? ISC squared. That's where you get your CISSP and your CCSP. I have both of those top two there. And then I've been pushing for a lot of people to go get their certified in cybersecurity. It's an entry-level one. And then I have ProLUG training that's kind of like put together on it. I've never actually showed anybody that training, but I have like some basic cybersecurity training for that. And the cool thing about that one is last time I checked, it was still available. They committed to the first 1 million people that went and got that cert were going to be for free. So I don't think they've gone through all 1 million of those yet, but maybe they have. It's only been open for a few years. There's all the CompTIA ones. CompTIA's valuable, right? It looks good in the industry. Security Plus is part of the 8570 cert. So is CISSP and CCSP. Does everybody here know what an 8570 is? Anybody here in the U.S.? That's what 8570 is. Hold on. Look at that Ranger dog. 8570 requirements are a DoD baseline. And let's make sure we're on the DoD site, because I don't like any of these other ones. Here we go. This is the GIAC, right? So the requirements say, let's see if we can go find them, that for you to be some of these different roles inside of an organization, you need to adhere to these certs. So let's go down and look. Here's CSSP. Hold on. Where are they at? So here's the levels here, right? And then down here, let's say that some job that you want to get. You put in for some job working on a shipyard or something. One of our guys actually did this before, back in the day. He was working in a shipyard, and he had to have some of these certs. So if you want to be at IAT level 1, you can go get these certs right here. If you want to be IAM level 1, you have to get these certs right here. So Security Plus, those ones are good enough for up to IAT level 2 and IAM level 1. Now, you might say, Scott, what are those? I don't even know what their IATs and IAM levels are. But what I know is if I went to like fedjobs.gov or usajobs.gov, whatever these job sites are, I can tell you right now they would definitely have these listed. And then I would need to map back that like, oh, I have a Security Plus or whatever. I don't have a Security Plus. I have a CISSP. So I'm over here. Or I could be a CISM, but I'm a CISSP, so I have that one, right? Down here, you can with a CISSP, and then this is a lower, this is like a specialized one. You could be CCSP manager. If you want to be an auditor, you need to be one of these, either certified ethical hacker or a CISA, or you could be any of these all the way back, right? And these are the things that you need at a minimum to be any of these different pieces, right? So you could then from here, right, you guys can work back. So Def Not Jeff, what you would need is, let's say the job was an IAM level 3. You would need at least this, but if you had anything over here, it would supersede it. So if you need an IAM level 1, you could be any of these, right? But no, you wouldn't need like this one and this one. No, because the job will say one thing, and they go up in like a hierarchy. So CISSP is good. CCSP used to be on here. Where's my CCSP at? Because I have a CCSP as well, which is the cloud security. I don't see that one anymore. SSCP is the lower level one as well from the CISSP. But the point is, do you understand security in the way that the government requires for that DoD baseline, right? So then you say, well, because people ask me all the time, Scott, is it worth it for me to go get a Security Plus cert? And I go, well, do you want to work for the U.S. government? No. Okay. Well, then I can't point at 8570 because that doesn't matter to you. Do you want to work for, let's go look at the jobs that are out there. We'd look at the jobs around here. Kiwi Bytes, I was just saying this. I don't even know what those things mean. I just know that they will be in the job posting. I think they're up here. They tell you what they are. So, there's SANS courses that'll get you ready. And if you go take these SANS courses, I think they also help you get ready. But they should say, I think they might say up here. So here's your assurance tech. And so Tech 1, Tech 2, and Tech 3 for assurance. And then there's a manager. And I don't know what this other one is. And then here's these ones down here. So baseline information assurance and information assurance tech and information assurance manager, I think is what those are. Tech, and manager, yeah. So that's information assurance tech and information assurance manager, yeah. I don't, and guys, here's the link if you want it. But my point in saying all that is people are constantly asking me, and I don't have a problem with people asking me these questions. I'm just telling you, like, the best answer I can ever give you for if something's valuable to you is, does it align with what you want? Because you could throw $400 down a hole and take any of these certs you want. But does that $400 get you in a job where now you make $15,000 more a year or something? I would argue, like it would be like if like Colchis works in tech, right? Colchis, I'm pretty sure you've been in tech for a while, because you've been around. But let's say Colchis says, "Hey Scott, should I go get my food handler's card?" And I go, "Well, how much is a food handler's card?" And you're like, $45. $45, study for a day, go take it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Do you want to be in food handling? Well, no, but I mean, but it's only $45. Be like, oh, well, okay. But does it align with where you want to be since you're a guy in tech? Oh, no. And I'd be like, well, then even if it's cheap, it's not really that valuable to you, right? Does that kind of make sense? And that's yeah, fun employee disability. Yeah, yeah. But the point would be, if you're not going to use that $45 being small is irrelevant. It could be $4,000. It doesn't matter. It's not aligned with where you want to go with it. Sure, if you want to, I mean, you could go study the little pamphlet without it. We could study it right now and probably go pass the food handler's course. I remember taking that thing when I was like 15 years old, so I could work at a McDonald's. I mean, I don't even remember anything on it, but it's like, make sure the chicken's over 145, make sure the steak's over like 155. I don't know, something like that, right? Like, don't kill the people you're serving the food to, right? Anyways, my point is, study stuff that matters. All right, how's Ranger doing? Look at that dog. He's on his bed on a bed. Living like a king, that dog. All right. Anyways, Linux Foundation's great. They've got the certified Kubernetes. They've got the... Oh, guys, I got to take this real quick. Give me 1 minute real quick. Give me 1 minute real quick. I'm going to put you guys on mute real quick. Hold on. And I'm going to turn off my camera. All right, you guys there? One of my buddies, so I was saying earlier we're going out to the Renaissance Festival, and one of my buddies is calling me to see when we're going to be going and all that stuff. So, yeah, just, I, you know, I feel like sometimes, and I don't mean this bad, right? Because I will give people as much free and good advice as I hopefully can on our Discord and all that stuff. But I feel like sometimes people are asking me, hey, Scott, I want to line these two books up. Are they lined up? And I'm like, no, not quite. And then they're like, how about now? Are they lined up now? And I'm like, that looks a little better. And they're like, okay, thank you. That's what I feel like sometimes. Like, people are asking me stuff they already know the answer to, and I it doesn't bother me. It's just I watch this online with people and streamers and other stuff like that, and it's like sometimes people just need the permission to do what they already know they can do. It's just like somebody needs to tell them, you can do it, man. Like what's stopping you? You're perfectly capable of doing this stuff. And that's one of the things I try to do here is tell you guys, like, you can do this. There's no doubt you guys could do this stuff. You just have to get out there and start doing it. All right, anyways, so cloud certs, there's a whole bunch of them. I don't even have all of them like Google Cloud and Alibaba, but there's different certs that are out there, and they're good. We have a lot of people in our Discord that are AWS, either working directly for AWS or AWS adjacent. In fact, last I checked, I think we have like 6 people that are professionals within AWS that are kind of like actively talking in there. So we have people that are they don't always identify themselves, and I don't like out them, but we have people that are pretty heavily in AWS as far as engineers and stuff. So, you know, if you want to talk to them, or if you ask in our search channel about these certs, but there's certs that are out there. Now, all of these ones cost money, but there are free certs that are out there. If you have nothing on your resume, these things could at least help you have something on a resume. These ones are completely free up here. Every one of these. The training is free and the cert is free. So Six Sigma Process Improvement, the White Belt cert from Six Sigma Council, free. Go take it online tonight if you want. I would study for it a little bit, right? Because I've heard of people failing this. Like, people that I know that are not dummies have taken this and failed. So you have to study a little bit. But by the way, the study is free. Do you guys want me to give you the link to the... Do you guys want me... right here, watch. By the way, this is all up in the Discord. So this actual talk is in the Discord somewhere. Let me pull this up for you. Give me a second. Here's the Six Sigma certification. Free. Look, exam cost is nothing. But the study guide, this is great right here. The study material for all of this is free. Right here. It's all free. All the way down to the end. Now, the certs start costing money after the white belt, and that's up to you if you want to do. But if you want to at least go get your white belt for free. And you might say, well, what organizations on planet Earth use the Six Sigma? All the major defense contractors that I know of, all the major engineering firms that I know of, like big government type contractors, all of them use some type of Six Sigma. All of them. Or total quality management, which is a different flavor of it, right? So there's that. There's a Lean Six Sigma process, which, by the way, is from the same place, and then you just go and look around a little bit. Yeah, all of them. All the Fortune 500. Pretty much everybody. And it may surprise you. Some of you may say, well, Scott, but isn't that heavy math? It's really light statistics. And when I say really light statistics, I mean like you have to know the definitions for the white belt. And then when you get into some of the later ones, you do need to understand statistical processes and like what it means to be in a histogram and what it means to be in like the different quartiles, right? Like if you're in the first quartile and the second quartile and third and fourth and know that they're all 25%. And then you look at it and go, well, I need to get a little more precise in here. So now I need to break it up into deciles, which are, by 10, every 10, right? And then you're like, well, that doesn't really fit anymore. And it's guys, it's not any. If you've ever divided up tokens for a kid at like a Peter Piper pizza or something, or you've ever sliced up a pizza so everybody could have some, or if you know what I'm saying, like you understand this stuff, but maybe you just never thought about it or haven't thought about it recently, that will help you get into that better, right? And I'm a big fan of the Six Sigma process. I really like Deming and his methods and some of the things that you can go read about in there. And I really think like if you look at all this and you say, Scott, I like doing Linux as a hobby, but I don't want to do Linux professionally. I have friends that do Linux as a hobby and play around with it like me and everybody else, but they do not want to be pros in that space. And I say, well, there are so many things that are Linux adjacent, and there's tools that are still available. And I think I talk about it. I don't have it in this talk, but I have it in the HPC talk, which, by the way, I'm going to redo the high performance compute talk soon, because if I'm going back to NOAA, by the way, guys, I don't know if I told you, I've been in talks to go back 100% full time over to the NOAA project, which is the National Oceanographic Atmospheric Agency. And if I do 100% go back over there, well, it won't change this any. I'll still stream, but I will probably show you guys more of the stuff that I do with them on the outside of that, like on the civilians, like my research stuff that I do. I'll probably show you guys more of that, because I tell you guys all the time, and it's even down in my bio, I'm an amateur research scientist, right? Like I do things for fun, but I'm not paid for it. So I'm an amateur. That's what an amateur is. But an amateur doesn't mean you can't be good at something still. You can still be doing things and being on real projects and stuff. So anyways, there's that. This one, I love this one. One of our guys built a study guide that goes along with this cert. There's 3 courses, 3 different certs. You get a little cool PDF for each one. And I love this. And this APIacademy.co, this one's old. But if you want, so see all of these right here, all of these, the networking, the Gremlin Chaos, and these ones, they're up here in our Discord. If you go to Beginner Start here, here's all the certs right here with the proper links. So even if you just went to our Discord, which is right here, I could type. There's our Discord on the Twitch side. Here's our Discord on the YouTube side. If you just go in there, here's all the links that I'm talking about right here. And there's certs that are both the study and the actual cert is free. And then if you click here, it'll take you to the Pathfinder study guide, which it says all over that test. It's an open book test. It says just study, watch the videos and stuff, and then take the test. And we have a study guide here that YGBSM put together, but he hasn't been on the server in like over a year or two. So kind of missed that guy, but here's all the stuff here. There's other stuff here for beginners in our stuff as well. You guys are welcome to it. I tell you guys all the time, if you come to our Discord and you load everything up in a sack like a cartoon villain and run out of there, it's not going to hurt my feelings, right? Like, I mean, like, we want people to stick around, but like, I can't stop you even if I wanted to. So do it. Have fun. Gremlin Chaos Engineering. This is one of my favorite things. Like, for guys that want to get into site reliability engineering, like you say, hey, Linux is fun, but I want to go make more money. I'm good enough at Linux to get over into an SRE role. I think this is an excellent cert. I have this cert too. This was really fun. I enjoyed studying for this one. One of my buddies, M. Pessa, who's down in our Discord, and we'll talk to you if you ask him about stuff. He originally got me on this, but this is the Chaos Engineering. This is like, look, books, culture, education, notable tools, papers, game days, just hundreds of hours of stuff to go read about and study here if you wanted to get into site reliability engineering. And some of these are really good. Some of these are completely free. Where's the completely free, all of the Google stuff? Yeah, here's all the Google stuff right here. SRE books from Google. I'm always trying to show you guys these. These are free. Google doesn't even charge you anything for them. You can just go download them. But pop over here. Look at all this stuff. Oh, my buddy's just texted me. All right. Do you guys want that link? Did I link that to you? I didn't link that to you. Desks are gone. This is one of the best, like, because I don't know. Sometimes people just don't, like, you're not interested anymore. You're like, Linux is fun. But Linux doesn't ever get there for me, right? Some of you guys are like that. And I get it, man. Like, it would be like same if you were like, Scott, do you like database? And I'll be like, yeah, I'll build a database in my home lab and I'll connect to it and I'll do some stuff and I think it's fun to throw stuff at a database from Python or something. That's okay. But I don't want to do that. Like, I don't want to be a software engineer. I don't want to be a database guy. Like, that's not that interesting to me. And I get that's like that for Linux. So chaos engineering, at the end of the day, it's actually funny when you go start to study it. The very first thing that they tell you when you go into the Gremlin cert is the scientific methodology. Scientific methodology is like observe something, formulate a hypothesis, test the hypothesis, be correct or be incorrect, start over, right? Like there's variations on that, obviously, but it's like observe, think about it, try to, whatever it is, right? Well, that's how they start off with chaos engineering. They start you off with going, this, by the way, is just the scientific engineering, or it's just the scientific method applied to engineering. And you're like, all engineers do all day is apply the scientific method anyways. We look at a problem and we go, wonder if this will fix it. And if it doesn't, then we go do something else, right? It's a scientific method. So anyways, these are free certs. There's free training. There's a lot of free training, but the cert itself is not free. So, like, there's hands-on labs all over Killer Coda. Killer Coda is maybe the best free site on the web. Maybe my favorite thing to ever show people, because this is where, we have labs all over out there, and then there's thousands of other labs of people trying to teach you how to do. One of our guys, like, he learned all of his Argo. He's like, I never had used Argo CD, and then I went out there, and there was a whole bunch of labs on it, right? You just click on this. Watch this. If you've never been on Killer Coda. If you have been on Killer Coda and you didn't know that there's places on there other than my stuff, there is. And I come in here. Here's my Ansible. Here's HashiCorp. And I come down here and I want to learn any of these tools. Oh, look, CyberArk's down there now. Trivi's been there for a while from Aqua, which is a container scanner. You want to learn how to scan container images before you put them out in your environment? Boom, there you go. Where's the Argo CD? I don't think this is alphabetical, is it? Here's Argo. And you come in here, and here's an Argo project. And this one only has, let's see how many of the ones this one has. This one only has 8 scenarios in here of how Argo works. I've never used Argo. Oh, what's going on here? My music stopped. Maybe I did that to myself. All right. Here's Argo. If I wanted to learn how to set up an Argo workflow and run my first workflow, I'd come in here and do it. I've never even messed with Argo, but I know I can come in here and learn these 3 things. Right? Boom. Boom. And it doesn't cost me anything. So we create a namespace for Argo. I know enough Kubernetes from my time doing it to know how that works. And then I can come down here and I can apply this Argo project right here, right? I can apply that. But instead of just applying that, did you know if you do a little Linux, you could do this too. I could say, well, what's in there? I could say wget dash capital O install.yaml against that, right? And I'll download that. And now I've got that install.yaml. And I maybe go to my install.yaml. And I can go look at what that thing just did that I just downloaded. That big old long YAML, I could go look at it and see what it was doing, right? And maybe I just come in here and I might just do something like this if I wanted to. I could say, you know what, I could probably do this. Let's say grep-I capital E, and let's go, what were those? Hold on. API version and name. Oh, whoops. So now, even if I just stripped out a lot of stuff, we could also, let's change this a little bit, and name will have 2 spaces in front of it just for fun. And you know, hold on. Let's do it this way. That's fine. That's fine. Point is, we can strip those out. It would just take a little time to get rid of the trailing or the leading. But the point is, I can see all the things this just did pretty quickly. I'd even do it better. I just get rid of the name part. Just do the API. So I can see all the API version calls of what the system's doing. So it's doing some RBAC authorization stuff. It's using V1, probably doing some kind of pull down of whatever tool that is. There's some other ones up here. But the point is, you can strip this stuff out and go take it apart with very little work. You can also just go see what it applied, right? We can go up and go look at what this thing actually did, right? My point in showing you all that is that Killer Code is a great place to go to get your hands on stuff, because you know how much that cost me right there? Nothing. It's free. Like, you just have to have an email with them or Google Federated Access. It's free. So I think that's pretty good. Oh, make sure I'm not missing anything. All right. Anyways, all the other belts of Six Sigma are free to train. Terraform and Vault, those guys will show you how to use their tools for free. All up and down. They've got some really good study guides for them. I took both of those. I let them both lapse, but I had both the Terraform and the Vault Associate. Those are pretty straightforward. The certs are only about $70 to take, so they're not bad. And they're pretty reasonable. I passed both of them the first try. They're pretty reasonable tests. They test you across 9 domains for Terraform and 10 domains for Vault. They're very well-defined domains. They tell you exactly the things you need to know. You should be able to study for those for, probably a few days and pass them. Pretty reasonable. If you want to go get into data science, Kaggle has, I don't know when last time any of you guys have been to Kaggle, but they have so much. They probably have like weeks and weeks of just tutorials you could run through if you wanted, with AI, ML, image detection. Like, you want to pick out all the blue pixels out of an image or something, they'll show you how to do it up there for free. They're probably the best site around for that. They also have competitions for people that want to get serious about it, and those competitions, absolutely 100% for people that win those, lead to like jobs and positions and stuff. Because if you're winning Kaggle competitions, you're an expert. I can 100% tell you that. That site has like thousands of users daily, so that's a pretty big one. General Web, W3 Schools has been around since I was really young, teaching you how to do, web stuff and SQL and all that kind of stuff if you need. General Linux, I love tldp.org for referencing things. I don't memorize a bunch of stuff, I just reference it. And then Portswigger will teach you how to do web security, specifically with their tool, which is, somebody help me out. What's their tool called? Burp Suite. Yeah, they use Burp Suite. But if you didn't know, they're free to go to go study on. And then, man, there's a whole bunch more. Hold on, there's other. I should add some other ones to this. Hold on. There are ones like Falco training. Falco is the same guy who wrote Sysdig. So Sysdig runs Falco, but the same guy who wrote Wireshark. Sorry, originally Ethereal and then Wireshark. He wrote Falco as well. And look, they've got all this free training right here if you want to go learn what this tool does, right? Everything you need to get started with Falco. And this one, if I recall, this one drops you right in a shell too. So it asks you some information. Oops. They want you to put in some information. So maybe it's not completely free like it used to be. They've changed it a little bit. But, yeah, there you go. Anyways, that's still pretty close to free. Not quite free. If they're charging you for your time and you're putting in your name, obviously it's not completely free. But anyways, I think there's a lot of good training out there. And then build yourself. I think you should build yourself a home lab. And my thoughts on this have changed over the years. If you're really, really, really beginning and you don't have anything that you can spend, you could at least build some stuff in Azure for free. You can build AWS for free, but you do have to put a credit card down, so a lot of people don't necessarily like that. But Azure will let you build stuff for the first month, and the subscription will have $200 on it that are free, and you can do whatever you want with those $200, and when it's done, it just goes away. So Azure is a pretty good one for that. I think people like that option because it doesn't tie you in for like free tier credit. Like AWS needs a credit card. But yeah, the stuff that I have in the home lab, I'd say I'm in probably like the $700-800 range nowadays. But I've also been building my lab for a long time. I think you should do personal projects, things that are interesting to you, that aren't necessarily directly related to the stuff that you do for work. I think you should do work stuff that is directly related to work, but you can move in. So I have stuff. I've shown you guys stuff. Like I've written stuff outside of. Let's show some Ansible stuff that I've written outside of work, and then I bring it into work, right? Because why not? It's my stuff. I can bring it into work. This was somebody else's. See, other people post good stuff in here too. Where's some of my stuff? That was a good explanation of a lab right there for some of you guys. There's all kinds of stuff in here. This is how, like in my lab, when I want to pull in a bunch of variables about an environment, this is how I do it. So if I have like each individual node that I'm going to build out and then different values for it, then I can reference them inside of the file, right? Like I can call them, but this is just another way to pull in, and then I could just do a different environment file and strip out and build the whole environment a different way, right? So this was something somebody else's. Hold on. This is like my template for I'm checking a bunch of systems, right? And then in our home lab, or in my lab, let's see, I think I pulled it out. Yeah, I don't show you guys the Discord webhook here, but some of you guys had a Discord webhook, and some of you guys were writing stuff out into our sandbox channel, right? And a while back, this was part of the course, people were in here posting, here's a diff report for if the systems had changed, if somebody had added stuff or removed stuff. This was somebody else's drift report for their packages between a couple of systems. I think this was mostly Colchis's stuff. Kenny Died had done like the control plane and the node 01, and they had dumped it out here. But the point is, you could have a feed inside of like a Teams channel or a Slack or something where you just check all your servers and look for drift. I used to do this. I do this actually still currently on a couple projects where I just look for drift on systems, and it ends up being a really nice. You would think like, oh, doesn't that get kind of arduous? No, even across thousands of nodes, as long as you're only looking for the one or two things that have changed or the nodes that have rebooted in the last 24 hours, that's a super simple check. It's like these are the things that you can and do and look like a rock star to your organization. And then yeah, this is how I push it out to everybody. This is my Jinja template right here. I use some version of this pretty much everywhere. All right. Anyways, that's all up in Discord. Book collection. I'm a big fan of keeping books because while the internet's great for referencing things, books tend to be written with more rigor and correctness. More people have looked at them, more people have published them than just some Stack Overflow. Now, Stack Overflow has probably fixed more problems on the internet than any other thing, at all. Stack Overflow is probably the number one tech problem solver, right? That being said, Tech Overflow is slowly dying, and there was even some stuff that had been looked at with their traffic when ChatGPT just first came out. Was there was this huge drop off. I think it's 1/10 the traffic going to Stack Overflow because people are now asking ChatGPT how to do things. Now, if any of you guys have used ChatGPT, and some of you guys in the Discord talk about it, it's kind of like an error-prone junior intern or an error-prone junior engineer. It'll give you something that looks pretty good when you ask it something, but it's not ever exactly right. I don't think there's very many people that are grabbing something exactly out of ChatGPT and dropping it over and having it be ready for production code. Almost universally, you got to change it in some way. So it's very good for reference, but I'm still a fan of going and grabbing, Humble Bundles. There's a Humble Bundle up, I think, for 5 more days right now on Linux sysadmin. So a lot of people like that. We have a book with the LeanPub. We use LeanPub for that. And it's all of our labs that are up on Killer Coda, and it just kind of gives you a little more deeper kind of run through on that. And then there's free books online, the SRE Google books that we just looked at. Those are completely free. Just go to sre.google, and I'll show you that stuff. This is maybe what I think is the most important one. Maybe this is the most important page here. Immersion in technology helps you keep your finger on the pulse. I think that technology podcasts are great, but don't get sucked in by infotainment. So there are people who are hanging around and they just want to, they're there to hear themselves talk. They're there to do all kinds of other things, but there's nothing wrong with watching whatever you want to watch on any channel. But if you tell me, hey Scott, this is my study time, and then you're out watching, somebody just, talk about programming the only way it works is if you're using Vim, or NeoVim or whatever, I'd be well, I mean, I guess if that's what you want to spend your time with, but I don't think that's educational. I don't think that's any use for you, right? So I would say find something that's interesting. Find a Slack or a Discord or a Usenet group. There's all kinds of them out there. Oh, here's the one. Yeah, this was from earlier. It was all the CISSP stuff. There's study guides out there. There's a thing called Measure Camp and Measure Slack. If you guys have never heard of Measure Slack, there's a lot of data analytics like Google Analytics and Adobe Analytics out there. And one of my good buddies, Jared, he's pretty active with them. He's done some talks with them before. He comes and talks to us too sometimes. But get involved with an open source project, right? If you're willing to write and debug code, you could be working on a project right now. You just go get in there, get on some of their mailing lists and start looking at what's going on. Start looking at their issues on GitHub. It's not super hard to do. I would say probably over 95% of all projects have moved off of SourceForge. 10 years ago, everything was on SourceForge, right? But now I'd say probably most everything that's still happening and doing anything is over on GitHub. There's a whole bunch of newer projects. They're probably a couple years old now, but high performance compute initiatives, you're always going to have work in that space. Man, I tell Linux guys, get into HPC and learn that stuff. There's a lot of standardization that Ubuntu and Canonical are trying to make. And then HPSF.io is the Linux Foundation's version, right? They're doing that. There's a lot of value in it. I think Linux engineering in general has a lot of value, but you make, I wouldn't say significantly more. You can make significantly more over in the HPC space, even from just being a Linux engineer. And there's always work for it. I just think there's always going to be work for this stuff. There's all kinds of free labs on Killer Coda. There's a lot of good government stuff. Did you guys know that there's 300 and something sites from the U.S. government that are just open for you to take data from? I don't know if any of you guys have ever looked at this. Open data. Federal government open data site. Boom. 307,309 data sets. And it's like, what do you want to go look up, right? You want to go look up air quality and get it as a CSV? Here you go. For New York City and probably in some kind of, let's go in here. Let's go see what they got in here. And I can download the CSV, and then I can go and I can start to look at that, or I can download it in the way that I'm curious of seeing it, and then I can go and I can parse it in whichever way is interesting to me, right? Here's the URL for the data if I want to get it, and it contains information on air quality surveillance data. Air pollution is one of the most important environmental threats to urban populations. Good. And then you can go look at it, and maybe you figure something out about air quality and stuff. And one of the reasons I tell people all the time, one of the reasons the government's so big on giving stuff out like this, and I know I work with NOAA, guys. I am 100% sure of what I'm about to tell you. They have found consistently, not even like a little bit, consistently, that people that are working to manipulate data and investigate it because they're interested in it outperform research teams by a long shot, right? They consistently outperform those teams on their results, their patterns, the things that they find, the ways that they approach problems, and the way that they look at problems over people that are classically trained research scientists in that field. It's not even close. And you can go look that up if you want, but there's all kinds of stuff on that. Anyways, I can go look at all this stuff, right? And I could even tie this back. It looks like I've got, hold on. Looks like I've got streets. Is this streets here? I got the geo place name. Do I have any kind of, hold on. You could probably tie this over a map if you wanted, right? You got the start date. You've got, this goes back. Oh, our dates aren't in order. So we probably want to order this like this, right? Data, filter with a header. And then we probably want to filter this one here. We're going to sort this from oldest to newest. Oldest to newest. This goes back from 2005 to, well, how many columns? Oh, let me show you guys this real quick. I had to go all the way to the bottom to see it was 18,026. That's not true though. Hold on, watch this. You guys can, if you're ever filtering data, you can go like this and just say, oh, I just want, don't give me any, give me just 2022. And it'll tell you 705 of 18,025 records. Boom. There's 18,025 records here. Anyways, none of this is scratching that. What are you doing with all this data? So it's funny, I would be messing around with data when my brother that does data analytics comes in, and he's like, what you doing with all that data over here? Well, here's my answer to that. I can answer that for money. I can answer that for money. Hold on, I don't want to save that. No, Tommy, all we were doing, we were talking about just the stuff that's out there for people that want to get into whatever. Oh, you got another role on Monday? Hey, Tomo, I had an interview today with NOAA. These guys, I've guys, some of you know I've worked with them before, but to come back on the team, you have to kind of like re-interview and go sit and talk with everybody. And the people on the team, the people there knew me or knew of me, and so the job would be supporting the same supercomputer that I helped build back in 2020 and 2021. But anyways, guys, if you didn't know this is one of my favorite things. NOAA has all kinds of free outreach to try to get you guys involved with it. And there's probably nowhere on planet Earth that doesn't benefit in some way from like the National Oceanographic Atmospheric data. We have over 2 million sensors that get ingested every day, and data that are being churned through for just all the weather models you see from all over the U.S. and all over the world that are used by our military and European militaries are handled via like work product that comes out of NOAA supercomputing, right? That being said, hold on, you can get involved. These are all free right here. All of these are like how to get in here, intellectual property considerations for research transitions. And then they're just going to come in. There's going to be a keynote and then some other discussions. And these are all free to the public. Typically, I think they want you to be a U.S. citizen, but I don't know that they actually say that anywhere. They would be happy just to have people show up using citizen science and biodiversity research and policy. Look, Dr. Corey Callahan, going to teach you some stuff February 19th. That's not too far away. Here's how you register. Here's who's speaking. Here's a little bit about what's going to happen. Citizen science, biodiversity, and policy. They're big on this. Citizen science, like getting people involved that want to look at weather data, want to look at better ways to do this stuff and how to burst some of these jobs up to the cloud and stuff. In fact, me and one of the guys that are down in our Discord that works with AWS, we got to talk about this, because if I go back on the project, one of the things that they're looking for is bursting up and also sustaining things that are within the same value proposition of having their own stuff in the data center. Some of you guys don't know, but in long running workflows and things that you're needing super high speed links for, data center and owning stuff yourself still kind of beats out cloud. That's kind of a thing that's been true for many years. But anyways, if you guys need any of that, that's all up in this, and then data.gov. One of my favorite ones to look at on here is the crime stuff. So you can come back here and then you can look at like crime. And they've got one that's like all the crime incidents in Los Angeles. So crime data from 2020 to present, right? And you're like, okay, this is starting from March 4th of 2024, adopt a new records management system, so you can go look at that. And then you can come in here and you can just download this. Again, like I think this is going to be a 1 because I think I've downloaded this before. Hold on. I'm pretty sure I've looked at this one before. Hold on, let's see when it comes down. It's still spinning up here in my Chrome. Come on, Chrome, you're embarrassing me in front of our friends. I'm just kidding, guys. Tomo, also, if you're around, Julie and I normally have date night tonight, so I don't get to stream this late, but she's doing Galentine's Day with her friends. Galentimes. With her, not her friends, it's with her sister and the kids tonight. And then tomorrow we're going to spend all day out at the Renaissance Festival, so it's going to be kind of a busy. Oh, is that thing downloading? That's a big old data set. Look at that chonky boy. All right, hold on. Let's open this thing up. Let's look at this. See what this data are trying to tell us here. Funny. That's funny. All right. Anyways, we'll get that out of the way while that's taking its time to open up a half a gig. It shouldn't take that long. All right. So review, learn how you learn things, get certifications if that interests you, build stuff and be able to prove that you can do it. Get a book collection. This is maybe the most important thing. Get involved, get in the industry, talk to people, see how engineers talk with each other. And I think that there's a lot of value in that. We have meetings on Saturdays. I won't be around this Saturday because tomorrow I'm going to be out down in the other part of town doing Renaissance Festival stuff. But, industry discussions, podcasts, blogs, open source community, find people. And then if you can't find anybody, if you're just like the person in charge, start mentoring the others and bringing them up. And you'll find holes in your game that way for sure. All right, if you have questions, I say email me, but for you guys, hit me up in the Discord. That's the easiest way. All right, we're going to convert all these. Do it. Do the conversion. Oh, man. That thing's working hard. That's pretty funny. How's it going, X-Shanya? Ow. We are popping our elbows. Let's see, what's today? Friday. I've done jujitsu 9 of the last 11 days, so I'm pretty beat today. But I'm gonna take the next couple days off and then get back to it on Monday. All right, so let's look at this data real quick. What's this thing trying to show us? So come here. Sometimes a tool like this is good to just get our first filter of our data. So there's some info there. Date reported, date of occurrence. Now, that would be interesting. We could write something that would pull this in and just look at the difference between the date reported and the date of occurrence and look to see if there's any. I think, actually, hold on. Let's see how many total rows are there. Easiest way I know to find the total rows is go like this. Just come up here and just deselect them all and just take one, and it'll tell you of, oh man, is that 1 million? That's 1 million. Yeah, that's 1 million rows. Oh wow, look at that. Isn't that fun? That is a lot of crime. And when did it start? So we're gonna organize these from oldest to newest. I think it said 2020 on, didn't it? Yeah, so it was January of 2020. And then we could start to filter these down. Look, 2020. And I could say that, whoops. Oh, I can even dig in. 2020 has 3,496 of the total records are from 2020. Oh wait, was it everything in 2020? Yeah, okay. I don't think this is gonna be accurate. That doesn't seem right either, because then that's only 3668. That doesn't seem. I don't think these are gonna math up very well. Hold on. That's 3869. That's not barely to 10,000. That's okay. All right. Interesting. And then 2024 is, well, what I can tell you for sure is that doesn't math all the way up. Come the rows and control shift the down arrow. Yeah. Hold on, let me put them all back real quick. Control shift down. Ah, so that's interesting. Why are there all these other rows when this only goes? That's very interesting. Is there hidden data in here? You see that? Oh, there's still a filter somewhere. Oh, oh, I didn't think I filtered anything else. Oh, I have them in order. I'll undo the sort. Oh, hold on. Data filters. No filters. Oh, that was my HashiCorp one. I was going to show that to you guys the other day in the Discord, but we didn't get around to it. I like the latitudes and longitudes here. Alright, anyways. Select all. No data filters. Interesting. Oh, because I left this off. I was wondering what the hell was going on there. Yeah, that was me. So that was when I did that to see how many there were. All right. I was like, why is there only 3,000? Because it was at the 1 a.m. hour. Guys, that was my fault. I did the 1 a.m. hour of all of those. All right. But by the way, we can suck this into Python with I didn't mean to turn on my for money. We could suck this up with pandas or something, and we could just start to look at the data. Like, we could start to look to see if there's a correlation with the time of day across this, right? There's, yeah, Tom, the time was filtered. Yeah, absolutely. So, but that aside, I think that there's, actually, that it would be interesting to see if, like, there's more crime that happens between like 0 and 5 a.m. I'd be willing to bet there was, because there's programs. If you guys have ever been to Maricopa County, there's programs out here where you can put a little blue thing. I would never ever in a million years do this, but you can put this little blue car on the back of your car. Has anybody here ever seen one of those driving around? There's like it's a little white sticker with like a blue car on it. Has anybody here ever seen that? Tommy, you ever seen that? Here in Maricopa. And what that symbolizes is if the cops ever see that car driving around between midnight and like 5 a.m., you have given them probable cause. You've already told them by having that on your car, you are allowed to pull me over because I'm not out at this time. You've given them probable cause to search that car. So also if it's ever within 80 miles of the border. So that's another thing with that little car thing in the U.S. I can pull it up if you want it, but in the state of Arizona, all of the cops know. I think it's DPS you actually register it with out here, or APS, Arizona Public Service, or whatever the hell it is, and they will. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? They will pull over that car in the middle of the night because the theory is that you would never be driving it. Now, if you do get pulled over, you can't be belligerent. You put the damn thing on your car, but you could also then prove that you are who you are, and then they'll let you go or whatever. But you can't be mad that you got pulled over, right? Like, because you gave it to them. So, what is this? Bike stolen. What? 19. Oh. I wonder how many of these X's there are. Right, so anyways, we can get in here and we could really start digging into things. But you'll very quickly, by the way, see that there's a tremendous limitation to this type of tool for that. This would only really be good. The only thing that I would tell you a tool like this would be good for is maybe slapping together some really high-level charts and what they call pivot tables. And I'm not even great at that. I know my brother Tom is. But, like, we could start to organize some of this stuff by, like, where it happened and who it happened to and that kind of stuff. And we could get some real high-level numbers out of this. But if you really want to dig into this tool and go to look for, like, what streets are the most commonly, having problems, and maybe you wanted to take this on, like, a lat and longitude here, and you wanted to feed it into, like, where it happened. Do you guys know there's actually a pretty cool little view you can do here? Actually, I think it's under data. And it's not geography. Oh, maybe it's geography. Let's see if geography will do it. No. I don't have a... Hold on. It's under review. I actually have one of these that's already set up that I could show you guys. Yeah. We were just looking at stuff right here. We were looking at data for a little bit. Well, hold on. Do I have this? Hold on. Don't save that. I think I have it in here. Just under normal Linux group stuff. I think it's data. Then GeoIPs. I might have it in here. Hold on. Yeah, Tommy, thanks for coming by. I think I have it in here under... Like, I've already done this before, so it's already laid out in the... Where is that? Is it under insert? Oh, it is under insert. That's maps. That's a map. Oh, no. I've already done it in here, though, so I don't need to do it again. Where the hell is that? I don't know where I have it, guys. I used to pull this up for you guys, but I haven't done it in a long time. But I have this all mapped to all the places. These were all the places that were trying to come into my system for a couple of years. It's from early 2020. I think it goes back. 2020 and 2021, yeah. These were all the systems that we're trying to get into our home lab here. I don't know. I know I had this set. How is that? I already actually did the calculations on it. That's why I don't know why I can't find this. Yeah, I can't find it, guys. I don't remember. I'll find it and I'll show it to you guys one of these times again. But I used to always pull it up and then we would see the mostly China attacking my system trying to get in. It's kind of funny. But we had like data locations for everything. All right. What are we doing then? Yeah. Tomo, I appreciate you coming by. Kiwi Bites. I'm probably gonna get off of here. I don't really have much of a plan tonight, so we were just kind of hanging out, looking at some of the system stuff, and then we were talking about what it takes to be an engineer and what you got to focus on and stuff. So, all right. Well then, we don't have enough people on Twitch to go raid anybody, so we'll just call it a night here. But I appreciate you guys coming by. We will keep working on stuff. We've got stuff going on down in the Discord if anybody wants to go hang with people down there. And for some of you guys, I will see you on this weekend. All right, take care.